Hey, everybody, what's going on? Welcome to another edition of the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge, presented by Georgia Alabama Sports Live. As I am coming to you bright and early Tuesday morning. This is a morning show. It's starting at 9 o'clock in the morning. I used to do the morning show when I was in college. I'm just changing it up. Don't forget, you can catch my normal noon show on the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Facebook page and YouTube channel. But this is my NFL reaction show I normally do on Mondays, but we had a holiday yesterday. And so not only am I concluding with the Monday Night Football game that happened late last night, I'm also going to recap the entire weekend of the NFL to include the Falcons getting the job done when they are supposed to. We've got the Major League Baseball playoffs. We got the Dodgers and the Mets tied at 1. Yankees take a 1-0 lead on the Guardians. We got the WNBA final. It's all tied at 1 apiece. NHL, NBA preseason as the season's starting in a couple of weeks. I can't wait for that. And then just around the corner, college basketball. We already got the AP poll out. We already got the preseason All-Americans. I mean, this is just incredible. And this is my favorite time of the year when it comes to sports because all the sports are happening all at once. Big college football games this upcoming week. I got plenty of time this week to talk about everything. And a lot of you probably are wondering, how come I don't have the guest on like I used to in the beginning of the show? Quite frankly, to be honest, when I first started this show, my guest really wanted to help me out to get that content. And I would have a guest every day, but we all have busy lives. And, you know, those guests are more than welcome to come on anytime. But I think that back in the day, I would have a guest on every day just to continue to grow my brand and to grow the audience. And it made the show interesting. Now that I have grown my brand and I have actually got the content, I actually do like an hour of show prep. I'm sitting here like taking notes. I'm looking at sports scores. I'm jotting down stats. I'm putting interesting facts, little tidbits, nostalgic stuff going back in the day and stuff. This is what I love doing because I love sports, and it's really the content that you want. Also, later in the show, like I always do on Tuesday, I give you my top 10 NFL teams, and this is really paying homage to Colin Cowherd because on Tuesdays he has the herd hierarchy. And when I think about sports personalities that I look up to, that I admire, you got to start at the top with Colin Cowherd. I've been listening to him for 20 years. Recently, Josh Pate. When it comes to college football, nobody does it better than Josh Pate. I've been listening to him the last couple of years. And so that's really what I aspire to be, is that work ethic to try to get to that point. And that's why I'm just going to continue grinding and knocking out shows. And guess what? This is episode 928. That's right. I'm almost to 1,000. I'll probably get there sometime next year. And for those of you who are new to this show, this is a local show that is dedicated to covering local sports to the Columbus area. But I also branch out and I do national sports as well. Without further ado, I'm going to start with the Monday Night Football game because, I watched actually the Peyton and Eli Monday Night Football portion of this on ESPN2. It was a lot of fun. It was fun. They have Bill Belichick in the first half. And then the second half, they had Will Arnett and Jason Bateman. They had Rex Ryan. It was a lot of fun. They are funny together. And normally I watch the regular Monday Night Football game, but I just decided, why not I change it up a little bit? This was kind of a boring Monday Night Football game. Buffalo does get the win. The only reason why it was close is because Aaron Rodgers threw a Hail Mary with time expired in the first half to Allen Lazard to make it 20-17. And Aaron Rodgers did throw a pick. He did have 2 touchdown passes. But the Buffalo Bills are going to do what the Buffalo Bills do. They're going to beat the teams they're supposed to beat, because if they're going to be one of the top teams in the AFC, because I do think that they are the top team in the AFC East, which means they'll make the playoffs, they still got to play a Baltimore. They still got to play Houston. They still got to play Kansas City. I think those teams are better than the Buffalo Bills. I was disappointed that James Cook did not play a whole lot. Ray Davis was the leading rusher. Yeah, I don't even think I'm looking at the highlights. I don't think James Cook was in this game. Yeah, he was not in the game. He was injured. But Ray Davis, if you had him on your fantasy team, that was great. He had a great game. Josh Allen trying to prove that he's still a top 5 quarterback. He just methodically just does his thing. This was not a flashy game where Buffalo just blows out the Jets. Remember, they're playing the Jets on the road, and the Jets beat them last year. And so Buffalo's now 4-2. They play the Titans next, which they should beat. They play the Seahawks. I think that's a washout. It's up in the Pacific Northwest. The Dolphins are struggling. The Colts are not as good as I thought they were going to be. There are some easy, winnable games on their schedule until they play the Chiefs and the 49ers. But the Buffalo Bills, great win. The New York Jets with the interim coach, Jeff Ulbrich. The Jets really weren't playing inspired football for their interim coach, but Aaron Rodgers is just average. He does not look the same like he was 10 years ago. And the Jets have really been a horrible franchise. They haven't made the playoffs since 2010. And it was kind of ironic to see Rex Ryan on the Peyton and Eli broadcast, because that was the last coach for the New York Jets that made the playoffs. Remember, he made the playoffs, went to the AFC Championship back-to-back years in 2009 and 10 with Mark Sanchez. I mean, that was the best success that the Jets have had. And before that, Bill Parcells, they went to the AFC Championship back in 1998. So something's got to give. I mean, I thought that Aaron Rodgers would be the savior, that he would be the quarterback that would bridge the Jets to being contenders, and they are just not that good. Let's move on to the Falcons. 38-20, but that doesn't tell the whole story. The truth of the matter is, when you're facing a team like the Carolina Panthers, and what I said before this game even started was that the Falcons have got to be careful that this is not a trap game, because the Falcons are doing good so far. Kirk Cousins is accurate with the football. He's having the appropriate reads. Kyle Pitts, Darnell Mooney, Drake London, they're all getting involved. He's spreading the wealth. The Falcons are running the football with Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier. They have one of the best offensive lines in all of football. Their defense, however, sometimes is a bend don't break defense. Jesse Bates is an all-pro. You got A.J. Terrell. You're giving him all that money. He's still getting burned by mediocre wide receivers. My thoughts on this was Andy Dalton is a veteran quarterback. He did have some drives that looked good. Carolina did take the lead. Carolina actually cut it to 22-17 because Andy Dalton, who is a veteran, got into a 2-minute drive. And then the Falcons get the ball back. It's 22-17. And then they end up kicking the field goal. And they kick another field goal. And my thought on this was, score a touchdown. Put this game away. You cannot give Carolina signs of life. So they kick field goals. They're exchanging field goals. It's 27-17. It's 25-20. Good job by the Falcons defense holding the Carolina Panthers to only one field goal in that second half. But when it was 28-20, I started to think, don't let the Panthers stay in this game. I thought the interception was huge. That sealed the game for the Falcons. And then the Falcons ended up putting it away when they had that touchdown by Tyler Algier. And Kirk Cousins, he passed for 225 yards. No, it wasn't the Falcons' passing record like last week, because he didn't have to throw for 500 yards. They ran the football. Tyler Algier had his best game as a Falcon with 105 yards and a touchdown. Drake London had one of his best games as an Atlanta Falcon. And I'm not trying to be optimistic. I don't want to be too optimistic. I don't want to jinx it, but it's looking good if you're a Falcons fan. They have not made the playoffs since 2017. I still think they're going to be in a battle with the Buccaneers, because the Buccaneers look good. You saw the way they dismantled the Saints. The Falcons play the Seahawks next week at the Benz. The Seahawks are not very good. The Falcons need to win this game. This is one of those games where they've got to win, because then they got a showdown with the Buccaneers in 2 weeks. And once again, that could be for the division. But looking at the schedule, yes, they do have some winnable games, but there are also some games on the schedule that they could easily lose, like against the Broncos. Bo Nix could end up going off. You got the Chargers. I mean, the Chargers could be fully healthy by the time they come to Atlanta. And, I actually think that they are much better than the Saints, definitely much better than the Cowboys, especially the way the Cowboys lost to the Lions. I'm here to say I think the Falcons make the playoffs. I'm actually, even if they don't win the division, they are getting in as a wild card. They have an easy schedule. Kirk Cousins is going to win you some games. Just the fact that they've got a competent quarterback, they are going to win games because they do have talent. And so it was a great win for the Atlanta Falcons. There are some things when you're watching a Falcons game that are left to be desired. It's like they leave stuff on the table. And sometimes they stall and have to kick a field goal. And sometimes Kirk Cousins will go 3 and out, and it's frustrating. But the Atlanta Falcons having a very good season. One team that I can't believe, they won, but I never seen a coach get scrutinized by the media more than Nick Sirianni. Well, I take that back. Kalen DeBoer with Alabama. Nick Sirianni screaming at fans, "What are you doing?" This guy, his mannerisms are not head coach material. And the Philadelphia Eagles struggled with the lowly Cleveland Browns. This is a team that you're supposed to blow out. They're a double-digit favorite at home. The Eagles look bad, and they look bad in a win. Look, I think Nick Sirianni, if he would have lost this game, he would have got fired. I don't think Nick Sirianni is going to be the head coach at the end of the season, because the Eagles are not going to live up to that expectation. I said in the beginning of the season that with the addition of Saquon Barkley, the Philadelphia Eagles would be the most explosive offense in the NFL, and that is not the case. There are some things that are head scratchers. I mean, what are they doing? Jalen Hurts, he did throw 2 touchdown passes, but he is not that explosive quarterback that we thought he was going to be. And, he is a shell of himself from the Super Bowl when he passed for 300 yards. Look, the Eagles are not the same team from that team that went to the Super Bowl. First of all, they lost both their coordinators. You have Shane Steichen, who's now with Indy, and you have Jonathan Gannon, who's with Arizona. You lose both your coordinators. I never believed in Nick Sirianni as a coach. I thought that he was in over his head, and I think that he's going to be fired. I honestly do. I think the reason why the Browns didn't win this game because just Deshaun Watson played horrible. And the Browns are a horrible team. I want to take a look at the Eagles' schedule because they play the Giants. That is not an automatic win. They play the Giants in the Meadowlands. And the Giants with Danny Dimes, Malik Neighbors might come back. The Eagles' defense can't stop anybody. I mean, you've seen what the Buccaneers did to the Eagles. Then they play the Bengals. Good luck trying to stop Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. I see them beating the Jaguars. That's the Sunday night game. I think that's got to be flexed out of Sunday night. Doug Peterson coming back to Philly, which they have a statue of him and Nick Foles, by the way. What kind of warm welcome is Doug Peterson going to get when Jacksonville comes to Philly? And is Doug Peterson even going to be the coach? Yeah, I'll get into the London game between the Jaguars and the Bears. But this is a lot of fun. The Commanders, that's going to be a tough out. The Cowboys, it just depends on if Micah Parsons comes back from that injury. And they also got some easy wins like the Panthers. I think the Steelers is a pretty good, easy win, but they still have to play the Ravens. There are some losses here. I still think the Eagles make the playoffs, but they might end up being a wild card team because the Commanders actually looking pretty good. All right, let's go to the London game because Caleb Williams is starting to show signs that he is going to be a good quarterback. First couple of days, first couple of weeks, Bears fans were starting to get worried. Well, maybe we picked the wrong guy. Maybe we should have got Jaden Daniels. Hindsight's 2020. Caleb Williams threw for 4 touchdown passes, but let's be honest here. He's looking good against the Panthers and the Jaguars, but he's got a reliable weapon in tight end Cole Kmet. I think that with Keenan Allen coming back from injury, you got Rome Odunze, you got DJ Moore, and you got DeAndre Swift as your running back. The Bears are 4-2. They are 4-2 in the best division in football, the NFC North. I don't know if the Bears make the playoffs, but the Bears are 4-2, and I admit that the 4 wins are against terrible teams. But the Bears are exactly what we thought they were. No, I'm just kidding. They play the Commanders. I cannot wait for that game. They have a bye. And then on October 27th, they play the Commanders. You got Caleb Williams going up against Jaden Daniels. You don't think that's must-see TV? You know people are going to want to see that. Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels are going to draw eyeballs to the TV screen. I cannot wait for that game. Both teams are 4-2. They play the Cardinals. They play the Patriots. There's some winnable games until they get into their division games when they have to play the Packers, Vikings, and Lions pretty much 3 weeks in a row. And then they just so happen to throw the 49ers in the schedule as well. A good win. Jacksonville, another disappointing loss for Doug Peterson, which feel like Trevor Lawrence has regressed. Jacksonville doesn't have an identity. And I think Doug Peterson is the next coach that gets fired. In fact, I was shocked that he didn't get fired coming off the plane from London. So the Jaguars are in trouble. We'll see how it goes. I'll be honest with you. I don't know if it can go the way that we think it's going to go. All right, got the schedule wrong. I got the score wrong on this one. It's 30-23, by the way. But the Baltimore Ravens did defeat the Washington Commanders. The Commanders actually looked good in a loss. I thought so. It was the battle for the Beltway. This was the game everybody wanted to see that should have been flexed to Sunday night. Baltimore, after starting 0-2, have won 4 straight. The Commanders 4-2, still a great team. And even though they lost, it's still a good loss because Baltimore, we know how good Baltimore is. When it's all said and done, Green Bay just might be the best team in the NFC. They completely dismantle the Arizona Cardinals. The Green Bay Packers are starting to feel their stride. Jordan Love is getting confident in the offense. The Packers defense looks good. How about this matchup next week? The Houston Texans and the Green Bay Packers. Sign me up for that one. That's why I love having the NFL Red Zone channel. And then the Buccaneers completely took the Saints behind the woodshed and smacked them around. And even though Spencer Rattler did have a pretty good second quarter, Tampa Bay put up 51 points to the Saints on the road. A Saints defense that's supposed to have stars like Tyrann Mathieu, Marshawn Lattimore, Demario Davis, Chase Young. Why can't the Saints stop anybody? This was supposed to be their bread and butter. Dennis Allen is a defensive specialist. They are supposed to be, one of the top defenses. And by the way, I cannot wait for a documentary to come out about Bountygate because I think that that's tainted what the Saints have been all about. And Jonathan Vilma no longer should be calling Saints games because he would just be a Saints homer. If he calls a Saints-Falcons game one more time and he is just a Saints homer, I am going to lose it. All right, so Pittsburgh ends up defeating the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders are just terrible. They don't have a quarterback. Aiden O'Connell took over for Gardner Minshew. They got rid of Jimmy Garoppolo last year. Max Crosby is probably going to get traded. Devontae Adams is staying put for now, but I highly doubt he is going to be a Raider in 2025. The Raiders just need to go out and get a quarterback in the draft, but they have a terrible history with drafting quarterbacks number 1 overall. Just look at Jamarcus Russell in 2007. It was not good for them. The Houston Texans just might be one of the best teams in the AFC. They go into Foxborough and they get the 41-21 victory. And the Texans are looking really good right now. Even though Nico Collins is out with an injury, he's going to IR. Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs, Joe Mixon look good in the backfield. Will Anderson is a great pass rusher. They just have a good roster. And they have a good coach, a leader of men, D'Amico Ryans, who coaches them up and does a fantastic job doing it. Chargers get back on track. Denver's win streak is snapped. And Chargers just need to stay healthy. They get healthy. They could compete with the likes of the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens in this division, in this conference, because I believe in Jim Harbaugh. I saw what Jim Harbaugh did in his first year in San Francisco, go 13-3 and go to the NFC Championship, where Kyle Williams ended up fumbling it and they ended up losing to the Giants. That's neither here or there. But Jim Harbaugh did it in San Francisco. I believe he can do it in LA. The Sunday night game, which shouldn't have been the Sunday night game. I don't know why I stayed up and watched this game. The Cincinnati Bengals ended up defeating the New York Football Giants. Bengals are now 2-4. And the Giants are now 2-4. Yeah, there you go. I don't know why this was the Sunday night game. I really don't. Did I cover everything? Oh, one more game. One more game, and that is the Indianapolis Colts defeating the Tennessee Titans. Titans is just another bad team. 1-4. I think they're going to be looking for a quarterback in the 2025 NFL draft. The Colts are 3-3, and the ageless one, Joe Flacco, just continues winning like he did with Cleveland last year. I can't describe why it's happening, but it's happening. I did of course I would end up forgetting that game. I did have a graphic for it, but I guess I don't have it. The Lions, they completely smacked the Dallas Cowboys around. I think there's a reason why I did not make a graphic for this. Because I don't know. Let me look and see. I had a graphic. I don't know what happened. But anyway, the Cowboys are not a very good team. And let me tell you why, the Lions ended up beating them 47-9 in Dallas. I don't know. It's because they have better players. They have a better roster than Dallas. See, when you pay your quarterback the amount of money that Dallas paid Dak Prescott, you have to hit on all your draft picks. And Dallas has got a lot of holes. And Dallas also has a problem with the injuries. The injury bug has really hurt the Cowboys with Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence out with an injury and Deron Bland out with an injury. It's not looking good for the Dallas Cowboys. And Jerry Jones saying that he was shocked that the Detroit Lions ended up beating the Cowboys. I wasn't shocked. The Lions were out to win this game. They had this game penciled on the schedule because they felt that they were cheated out of that game. They lost to the Cowboys, and they missed out on getting the number 2 seed. Cowboys ended up getting the number 2 seed. It didn't matter because they would end up losing to the Packers in the first round of the playoffs. So anyway, all right, let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, I'm going to have my NFL rankings as you're watching the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge, presented by Georgia Alabama Sports Live, and we'll be right back after this.
Introducing Gatorade Water. Alkaline and electrolyte infused for great taste. Gatorade Water, always in motion.
And we are back here on the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge, presented by Georgia Alabama Sports Live. So because this is under the Georgia Alabama Sports Live umbrella, want to let you know that we are brought to you by Pepsi. And Gatorade is a Pepsi product, as you just saw that commercial. We're also brought to you by Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC. We're brought to you by Chattahoochee Valley Community College and Zaxby's and Gordy Eye Care. As you know, like when I do my title card before I start the show, I want to include all the sponsors, kind of just give them some love just for being presenting sponsors all season long. All right. My top 10 teams every Tuesday. There's the 10 teams haven't changed. It's just that the position has changed. Chiefs and Vikings were on a bye this week. I kept them 1 and 2 because until they lose a game, I don't see anybody with one loss going above them. Chiefs do play the 49ers, which they are a slight underdog. And I think that that's not going to bode well for the 49ers. They made them a favorite in the Super Bowl. They're making them a favorite here in the regular season. It's not going to look good. And I think the Chiefs end up winning because they know that this is a big game. Taylor Swift's probably going to be in attendance. It's Levi Stadium. It's the 49ers. This is a big game. It's going to be the Fox game of the week. It's a huge game. I cannot stress how huge this game is. And the 49ers are banged up. The Chiefs are just getting healthy right at the same time. And I think that Patrick Mahomes torches that 49ers defense. And the Chiefs defense does just enough plays to disrupt Brock Purdy. I think Brock Purdy has a good game, but I think the Kansas City Chiefs, that's why they are my number one team, is because they are the 2-time Super Bowl champions, and no one's going to knock off the champs, especially in my rankings. Not on my watch. All right, the Vikings. How about those Minnesota Vikings? Well, they had a bye, and they will take on the Detroit Lions. And probably should be the game of the week. Lions and Vikings should be. Why is that not flexed to Sunday night? You got the Jets and the Steelers Sunday night. Are you kidding me? You need to get the Lions and the Vikings flexed to Sunday night. Man, I'm going to be writing letters to NBC. I'm telling you. But the Vikings are 5-0. Sam Darnold looks pretty good. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. The defense is solid. I mean, Vikings are just an overall good team. And remember, the reason why that they're 5-0 and they're ranked number 2, they beat the Texans, and the Texans' only loss was to the Vikings. Anyway, number 3 is the Detroit Lions. The way they dismantled the Cowboys, I had to put the Lions at number 3. I think that the Lions and Vikings that's going to be an incredible game. It could go either way, but I see just the Vikings and Lions winning the NFC North, but don't overlook the Packers. I tell you, that division is stacked. I mean, look at the Bears are 4-2, and they're not even in my top 10. All right, we got the Houston Texans at number 4. Look, the Texans, they're just playing solid football. C.J. Stroud in his sophomore year looks fantastic. And then the Baltimore Ravens, they're 4-2. They've won 4 straight. You give the ball to Derrick Henry. Lamar Jackson is efficient. His passer rating is above 115. He's got Zay Flowers. He's got Rashad Bateman. He's got Isaiah Likely, who's been a great tight end. And the Ravens have a great offensive line. They got a great defense. I thought that when they acquired Roquan Smith from the Bears, it was like, hands up, it's over. It's over. The Ravens are just going to dominate the AFC. And they did in the regular season until they lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. I got the Green Bay Packers. I got them skyrocketed all the way to number 6 because of what Jordan Love has been able to do for the Green Bay Packers. It's not just that they've been winning. I mean, they've been winning in convincing fashion. 34-13 over the Cardinals. I thought that was going to be a little bit closer of a game. They did beat the Packers. They have lost to the Vikings, and they lost to the Eagles. They did have some close games against the Rams and the Colts. But beating the Titans, beating the Cardinals the way they did, that game against the Houston Texans is going to be another massive game. We got some big games for the schedule for the NFL next week. It's incredible. And so number 7, the Atlanta Falcons. I had to put the Atlanta Falcons in my top 10. The Falcons keep winning. And, they got actually a convincing win over the Carolina Panthers. It wasn't one of those wins where Kirk Cousins had to come from behind and win on a last-second field goal by Younghoe Koo or a touchdown pass with 10 seconds left to go, although he is capable of doing that. The Atlanta Falcons looked efficient on offense. Kirk Cousins looked pretty good. I do think they still got to run the football more with Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier, but they are moving the football methodically, and they are making the necessary plays to get first downs and to score touchdowns to try to get the victory. So 4-2, I got the Falcons at number 7. Number 8, the Bills, I dropped them a little bit. They did win against the New York Jets, but they won ugly. A win is a win. And the Bills, they're going to be in my top 10 as long as they got Josh Allen. Josh Allen, I believe right now, I'm going to say he's the 3rd best quarterback in the NFL behind Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. And some people think, he's number 2. And because there are some things that he does better than Lamar. But just the way that Lamar is just playing for Baltimore, I think that Lamar's number 2. Bottom line up front, that the AFC is stacked with quarterbacks. All right. The Buccaneers, I got them at number 9. I mean, they just completely beat down the New Orleans Saints on the road, putting up 51 points. I mean, get ready. That game down in Tampa, that's going to be for the division. Both teams could be with identical records. Baker Mayfield, I cannot believe the Browns just got rid of him. That was terrible, terrible decision by the Cleveland Browns. And now the Buccaneers, they've got their quarterback after Tom Brady. I thought that there was going to be a transition period where when Tom Brady retired, that the Buccaneers would not have a quarterback. Well, Baker Mayfield has played the part, and he's played it very well. I got the Washington Commanders at 4-2. Now, the Washington Commanders are in my top 10 because I believe that Jaden Daniels is a very good quarterback. So who are some of the teams that I left out that are 4-2? Well, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they are 4-2. The Chargers are 3-2. You've got the Bears who are 4-2. And the 49ers are 3-3. And the way the 49ers beat the Seahawks, I think you got to put them in the top 10 if the 49ers end up beating the Chiefs next week. So that's my top 10 NFL teams. It is Tuesday. A couple things before I wrap this show up. The baseball playoffs, the New York Mets were able to beat the Dodgers. As the Dodgers had a historic 33 scoreless innings. Remember, they were down 2-1 to the Padres. And then with their backs against the wall, were able to take games 4 and 5 to win the series to advance to the NLCS, where they shut out the Mets in game 1, 8-0. They lose to the Mets 7-3, but they will play on Wednesday. The game is going to Citi Field, tied at 1 apiece. The New York Yankees ended up defeating the Cleveland Guardians 5-2 to take a 1-0 series lead in that series as Juan Soto and Giancarlo Stanton ends up homering and giving their starting pitcher, Carlos Rondon, the win. And I got to believe, as much as I'm rooting for the Cleveland Guardians, because they used to be the Cleveland Indians, they haven't won a World Series since 1948, and I was rooting for them in 2016, with Rajay Davis and that whole Indians team. But the Yankees feel like this is their year. The team that has won 27 World Series titles, have only won 2 in this century, feel like this is their year. And the average baseball fan wants to see Yankees and Dodgers in the World Series because you got the 2 largest markets. I mean, we had a Stanley Cup final where it was the Rangers and the Kings, so why can't we have the Yankees Dodgers in the World Series. And I guess at this point, whatever, I don't mind anymore. I'm not one of these Giants fans that absolutely hates the Dodgers so much. And, I still am proud that Giants won 3 World Series titles. The Dodgers only have 1 with an asterisk because it was in the bubble. So it was a great show. And I appreciate you waking up in the morning to watch my show. And I might start doing this more often. I love these morning shows. I love just getting a cup of coffee and getting on Facebook Live and then YouTube Live and then doing a morning show because this is what I used to do in college. I used to host Good Morning from FHU where I did the news, I did sports updates, I also played music, and I also did celebrity birthdays, and it was a lot of fun. This has been a lot of fun, so thank you. Don't forget, I got my Georgia Alabama Sports Live show later today at noon on the Georgia Alabama Sports Live Facebook page and YouTube channel. Enjoy your day, and we'll see you next time.